All right, everybody, welcome to JCLive, your weekly source for JCL news and fun. I'm your host, Mr. Kurt Ristroff, Publications Chair for the National Junior Classical League, an organization for middle and high school students in classical courses. We've got a good show for you today. We've got a special guest. Our special guest is NJCL Communications Coordinator, Mr. Nolan Heinrich. The COCO or ComCord of NJCL. I'm sure we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk a little bit about the office's history, his plans for the job, and then a lot about him, what he's doing for fun these days in COVID, what he does for fun normally, his plans for the year, all these kinds of things. So, welcome to the show. If everybody wants to take a couple of seconds right now to let folks know, share the link around, share on social media, text your buddies, let people know that we are here and we are live. Welcome to JCLive. So we're going to start things off while people are joining in with some announcements. One second, let me get these pulled up. We've got different announcements from what we normally have. We have some new announcements, so let's go ahead and make those. First, as always, join JCL. JCL is a really unique national organization. There's really nothing like it in any of the other languages that I know of, or really any of the other extracurriculars that people do in high school. It's a really good community, very interesting, very, very diverse, I'll say. We've got opportunities to build and showcase skills across the board. Athletics, academics, performing arts, graphic arts, everything you are interested in. And we have merchandise. We have swag specifically. So if you are in a JCL chapter that has not joined yet for the year and your teacher is interested in getting some JCL swag, they can go ahead and sign up their chapter, your chapter, and some of these items could be on their way to your teacher, either for your teacher or for them to distribute to you. So if you're either in JCL normally, or if you're interested in starting a chapter, let your teacher know. If you're homeschooled, let your parent know, and some of this cool merch could be yours. Other announcements. If you're interested in submitting some kind of content to the Torch US, what's the Torch US? That's our quarterly magazine. It's put together by the national student editor. And we are always on the lookout for op-eds and state news and, hey, I did this cool classics thing. Let me write about it and send it to the Torch US. We're always on the lookout for that kind of content. The winter issue will be coming out on December 1st, as it always does. And if you're interested in submitting content, you can email that directly to NJCL editor Irene Calderon at editor@njcl.org. The deadline for that is coming up in about a little less than 3 weeks, October 23rd. Also, if your state or local JCL has a publication, a newsletter, a magazine, something like that, and you would like other JCLers across the nation to be able to see it, you can email that information to Irene also, and it can become part of the JCL bookshelf, which is a collection of state and local JCL publications that she is putting together as part of her job. It's October now. Welcome to October. As the month turns, so does the Club of the Month theme. So Club of the Month is something that the NJCL puts on every month. You don't have to follow the theme. You don't have to do the recommendations or anything like this. But there's a monthly competition for which clubs are going to be recognized for being the most active in some capacity. And so the theme for October is to do something that is outdoors. Of course, if you're not able to do something that's outdoors, here are some virtual options that we give you. If you're virtual, you can host a trick shot contest. You can rake leaves for people who aren't able to. You can volunteer to collect litter in your area. All of these things can be done at a distance of 6 or more feet. So consider getting involved. And if you are interested, and if you do, you and your club do any of this, you can submit what you did to the Club of the Month contest. There's a link in the description, and you may be recognized for it. All right, we talked about this last time. There is live Kurtamen coming soon to the channel. I know this is going to be a fan favorite. Starting in November, the first Thursday of every month, we're going to have a Kurtamen show match here live on the JCL YouTube. So what is a Kurtamen show match? This means we're going to be getting volunteers, volunteer teams, volunteer question writers and moderators and all that, who will it's a practice match, basically. They'll put on a Kurtaman game. You'll get to watch, you'll get to follow along. There's about a 20-second delay, so you can see if you get the answer right in the chat before the audience or the participants get it right in the game, and it'll be a bunch of fun. Hang on just a sec. Okay, yeah, Kurtaman. So I know everybody loves Kurtaman, and we'll be having Kurtaman here. It won't be part of JCLive. It'll be a separate show, JCLive. We have more of the interview kind of stuff, but we may be bringing on some interactive things, a national Kahoot, maybe some Kurtaman, these sorts of things coming to JCLive. Just stay tuned. Okay, this is a big one. Massachusetts JCL's Classics Day. If you've been anywhere on the JCL social media, you've probably seen that Massachusetts JCL. Wait, how do you sign up for Kurtaman? You sign up for Kurtaman by emailing Jenny Luongo, who is the National Kurtaman Coordinator. There will be posts about that on social media, and more information once the sign up is open. We'll announce it here. Back to Classics Day. Massachusetts JCL is putting on this huge event on Saturday, October 24th. It's an all-day thing, and it only costs $6 for students. They've got all kinds of stuff set out for people. They've got webinars, they've got Kahoot, they've got social events, they've got 4 amazing speakers. You can see their profiles here. They've got Madeline Miller, whose books you may have read, Michelle Wu, who's a former national JCL president and is a Boston City Council member. They've got Sir Anthony Leggett, who's a Nobel Prize winning physicist, and Baroness Susan Greenfield, who's a member of the UK Parliament and a neuroscientist. So these are some outstanding speakers that they've got lined up. It's open to everybody in the nation. You don't have to be from or in Massachusetts. You can sign up. There's information in the description for how to sign up if you're interested in Classics Day. And Classics Day is a huge thing. Check it out. Massachusetts really went all out. It's very impressive. The lineup that they've got and the amount of programming they're fitting into a single day. You have to sign up by October 15th, which is coming up. So this show and the next show are going to be the only times we get to advertise this. Go sign up. There's a link in the description. It's going to be a really cool Saturday. Okay. If you're interested in registering for the National Classical Etymology exam, that deadline is coming up. We've talked about that before. It's one of NJCL's online exams. Go ahead and study for that and sign up and get all registered by October 27th if you're interested. Lastly, we have our normal stream rules. Please don't spam the chat. That has not been a problem, so I'm not worried about that. And then our subscriber goals, we are ever so slightly inching our way up towards our 1,000 subscriber count. If everybody who's in the chat right now can bring a friend next week or right now, if you have time, to text people and let them know that we are here, let them know that we are live, and encourage them to come check out the show. If everybody in the chat brings a friend next time, we'll double our view count. We'll probably get some more subscribers. So y'all are the influencers of JCL. Y'all are the people who are most gung-ho about the organization. Here you are participating in the live stream. So please go ahead and encourage people to join and watch the show. We'd very much appreciate it. We'd love bringing this content to people, and we want to help grow our viewership so that more JCLers, a lot of whom I don't think realize this is happening and that this is so much fun, can enjoy it. We're trying to build a community here, and this is all part of that. Next week, we will be doing a spotlight on a local chapter. I'm not going to tell you which chapter. You'll have to follow us on Instagram, and you'll see a teaser during the week for which chapter, but it's a very large, very successful, well-established, long-running JCL chapter from a large, well-established, long-time running state. Their teacher and at least 2 officers are going to come on the show, and we're going to talk about what it's like being part of a big chapter, what it's like running a big chapter. And it's going to be just a blast. So keep an eye out on social media for who that's going to be. And we will see you next week, and you can hang out with them. Okay. So with that, we're going to move over to our officer reports. We always do 2 officer reports. Today, the schedule had Nolan Heinrich and Lindy Raining giving the officer reports. Since Nolan's the special guest, he's not going to give an officer report. He's just going to hang out, and he'll talk about what he's been up to as part of the feature session. So let's switch over to Lindy, and she can tell us about what she's been up to. So I've got to... Lindy, are you there? Can you hear me? Hi, how's it going? Welcome to JCLive. You're on the show. Yeah, it seems like it. I popped out the chat. So normally the chat is on my other monitor, but now I have it on my main monitor. So I'm trying to keep an eye on it. Seems like normal high energy crowd. People are having fun. What have you got for us tonight, Lindy? Oh, hang on. One sec. People can't hear you, Lindy. I can hear you. Wait a minute. Hang on. Let's get this all straightened out. Can't hear Lindy. Nobody can hear Lindy. Why not? Lindy, can you talk? Can you talk now?
Yeah. Yeah.
I see.
Hello?
Okay. It was my fault, everybody. I am sorry. You should be able to hear Lindy now.
All right. So basically
Also-
all I said was,
Also, Lindy, can you reshare your screen, please?
yeah.
It's not giving us the screen that we wanted.
All right. I'm sharing my screen now. So what I was saying, guys, is essentially I'm just going to be doing a classics article rather than a traditional officer report. Can you see that, Mr.
There it
Straw?
is. Okay.
Might take
Yep.
a second to come through.
Once you change tabs, yeah.
All right. So my article is about this guy who has been using digital technology to resurrect, like the title says, Roman emperors based off their statues. And so you can kind of see like these really lifelike images of what they might have looked like back then. And I think it's really interesting because it kind of gives us in the 21st century a look into the past, and we can kind of see, ancient Roman history kind of with our own eyes and kind of interpret it in daily life. So as you can see here, this is what the statue looks like. And then you can literally see that it looks very similar to the real life rendering. And so they've been using technology and a whole bunch of different advanced softwares in order to get this kind of look. And that's not the only one. The person who's doing it, his last name is Beauchart. He's been putting in a lot of effort. You can see here another one. This is Philip the Arab. You can see another one, Nero. You can see, so as you see, he's done tons. And he's just been using the quarantine time to kind of do this for those who love classics like us. And I went over to his own personal blog, and I'm going to be switching tabs now. And he actually has a whole chart, if you can see that, that just spans throughout the years. It's pretty amazing. And it's really cool. It's, like looking at our presidents, some of their photos and portraits. So it's really interesting to be able to see that.
So this is all coming from statue evidence? Like it's not like he's doing some kind of forensics. Like he doesn't have their skeletons. He's recreating this from statues, right?
Yes, he's using statues and then Roman literature to kind of get an understanding of what they might have looked like, what they might have been like, and then to apply that through, digital means. It's a tool as it says here, he used ArtBreeder, Photoshop, and historical references. And as you can see, the statues align pretty well with the renderings. It's pretty crazy. And I'm sure it takes a lot of time and effort. And so I came across this and I thought, this is really interesting. And if anyone else would appreciate it, it would be the viewers of JCLive.
Yeah, I'm appreciating it, and it looks like the chat is too. How does he know what hair color to give them? Like, is that something that he's getting from literature, like people describing the emperors, and they say, oh, Augustus went gray by age, whatever, something like that?
I think he's doing a very extensive research into literary sources, statues, other art forms to try and get as realistic of a approach as he can. And I mean, that's what I was thinking. I was like, wow, this is crazy that he's able to do this. But I mean, I really think it's like a passion, and it's really nice to look at. It's really just crazy. I would encourage everyone, I'll put the link in the chat after this, to go look at this on your own time, because I really think it's amazing that someone's using their love of classics in such a like inventive way. It merges technology and art and kind of a lot.
Cool. Can you give us the artist's name one more time so that people can go? I don't have a link for this in the description.
Yeah, his name is Daniel Bochart, and I'll put the link in the chat
Great.
for his own personal page for everyone so they can look at it.
Cool. Well, thanks so much, Lindy. We'll see you in a couple of weeks, and if you want to hang out in the chat, that would be just great.
Perfect. I'll see you guys in the chat, and I look forward to watching the interview with Nolan.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, Lindy. Thanks. We're going to swap over to Nolan right now. One second. Okay, Nolan, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, let's bring you on. Welcome to the show. You're on JCLive. How's it going?
Good. How about you?
Pretty good. We had this snafu just now with Lindy's volume wasn't turned up, and that was 100% on me. We try and avoid such snafus here because we hold ourselves to very high journalistic standards here at JCLive. But you're here now. I assume the chat can hear you. Yes, everybody says hello, Nolan. They like your shirt. Cool. Awesome. Well, how's your day? How's your Monday been?
It's been a Monday. It's been going good. I'm not in school right now, so I haven't really done too much today.
Oh,
It's
gotcha.
good to just relax.
Okay. Well, we're here to hang out for the next 45 minutes or so and get to know you a little bit better, bring you to the national audience. And again, as a reminder to the folks in the chat, if you've got any questions specifically for Nolan or for me, you can tag us at National Junior Classical League or at NJCL social media. We'll respond. We'll try to get to as many of the questions as possible. So Nolan, why don't you start by telling us a little bit about yourself, how you found JCL, how you got to where you are now, and sort of the route from A to B.
Alrighty. So my JC journey started in sixth grade. Our school requires us to take Latin for our first 3 years of middle school. So I took Latin and I enjoyed it. So I joined JCL. I didn't really know what it was. I just kind of joined. There were some friends there. I thought it'd be fun. So sixth grade passes by. I go to fall forum. I have a blast. So then in seventh grade, at state convention, there's a state of emergency for middle school rep. And my teacher says, Nolan, you should go run for office. I think you'd be really good. So I ended up running for middle school rep, because that's one of the offices on the NJCL board. And I get elected. So now I'm on a state officer as a seventh grader. I have a lot of fun, so I decided to rerun in eighth grade for secretary. I get elected again. And then last year, so my ninth grade year, I get elected as NJCL's first ever COCO. And then obviously I just got elected as National JCL COCO. So
Well,
it's kind of been...
What are all of these? What do all these jobs entail? Like, what does a middle school rep do? How many officers are there on the NC JCL board?
Ooh, so when I got elected as middle, because North Carolina just had like a rework of their board last year. But when I got elected, I think there was 11. Yeah, something like 11 when I got elected. Middle school rep's job is to increase participation in middle school chapters across the state. It's kind of like the first VP, but for middle schoolers.
Gotcha. Now, I am coming from a state that does not have much in the way of middle school JCL or middle school Latin, really. So, and I think a lot of people probably in the chat started Latin in high school, in 8th or 9th grade. So what do you learn when you're a middle schooler in Latin? Like, do you use Cambridge or Ecce or one of the standard textbooks, or do you... What does the curriculum look like?
So for middle school, for 6th and 7th grade, we do Ecce Romani. Mm-hmm. So 6th and 7th grade, you do the purple book, and 8th and 9th grade, you do the green book. So to say, like, for your first 2 years of Latin, you just do level 1/2 and then 1. And then in 9th grade, you do level 2, or excuse me, you do level 1 in 8th grade, and then level 2 in 9th grade. And then I'm in 10th grade right now, so I'm in Latin 3, and we leave Ecce Romani afterwards to just do actual Latin.
Gotcha. So you do like the standard either poetry or prose in Latin 3.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Okay. So so you're middle school rep now, and like that's where we are in the journey. You're the middle school rep.
Mm-hmm.
You're in 7th grade, 8th grade.
Yeah, I get elected in 7th grade, so I served my office basically all of 8th grade.
So you're an 8th grader, and you're a state officer, and your job is to try and increase participation of middle school chapters. And what do you do? What does that look like?
You reach out to middle school chapters, and you try. It's essentially the first 3P, but for middle schoolers. So you reach out to like middle school sponsors or other middle schoolers you meet, and you try to get them along with sponsors to increase participation.
Okay, so there's some kind of like middle school mixer at the fall forum or at the state convention.
We do not have a mix. We didn't have mixers back then, so I wouldn't say that we have that.
Okay.
But we just encourage them to come because our fall forum is like our introduction to JCL. So that's kind of a mixer for all middle schoolers. That's how I fell in love with JCL, was at our fall forum.
Okay, yeah, it sounds like you had a pretty similar journey to Lindy's, where she wasn't sure about JCL, went to an event, fell in love, and then her teacher encouraged her to run for an office. So, and she's from South Carolina, and you're from North Carolina, so y'all are basically twins, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, you concur.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Okay, so now you've served your year as middle school rep, and you run for communications coordinator for North Carolina. No.
I run for secretary first.
Secretary. Okay.
Yeah, so end of 8th grade. So I served my term as secretary for basically all of 9th grade.
And secretary,
so
that's taking minutes, and
that's strictly taking minutes.
Okay.
That's all we do is we just take minutes. I enjoy taking minutes. Like in middle school, I was on student council for 2 years, and my job as historian. That's essentially secretary. You just take minutes in meetings. I had fun with that, so I decided to run for secretary, and I got elected then for NJCL.
So you're taking minutes. You're presumably helping state board stuff. You're helping run convention. I mean, you're not just sitting in the corner taking minutes, but you're taking minutes and assisting. And then let's see, if they changed from having a secretary to having a communications coordinator, then you knew that you were going to be the last secretary for North Carolina JCL.
Yeah, so we decided to shift up. The amendment passed while I was secretary. So then COVID struck, and while we were changing it, so it kind of worked out for me. I was the only one who ran for COCO because it was such a new office. But yeah, so I got elected as COCO for the first time.
So tell us about communications coordinator. I personally don't like calling it the COCO. You, of course, are free to call it whatever you want.
I personally prefer COCO.
Yeah, I mean, I had some cocoa earlier today in my nice LSU mug, and it was delicious. But anyway, you're the communications coordinator. What does that look like? What's the idea behind changing? Well, North Carolina, you said, was trying to do what Nationals is doing. So Nationals has had a cocoa for a while, a ComCord for a while. So what does the job entail? Was there a webmaster position that got merged with your secretary position?
Yeah. So essentially for what happened with the North Carolina board is we took the offices of publicity officer, secretary, and tech coordinator. We just merged them together and called that the COCO.
Okay.
So you have to take minutes, because the theory was as secretary, you don't do much outside of the meetings, and as tech coordinator, you don't do much inside the meetings other than obviously be a participant. So we decided it wouldn't be too much. You just merge the jobs together. Then you have an office that you're doing both inside and outside the meetings. That's what we call our COCO.
Okay. And so you're in charge of lots of things now, or as a year ago, you were in charge of lots of things as North Carolina's communications coordinator. You were taking minutes, you were running the website contest, and I mean, were you in charge of North Carolina's website, or does a third party do that? Like, how does that work?
The COCO has direct access to the website.
Okay.
So I was able
you're
to
making
change
pages, you're changing content yourself. Cool. And is that, I mean, what were you using for that? Were you writing HTML yourself, or is it a Weebly site or something like that?
Yeah, we use Weebly for it.
Okay. So you're making changes on the website, and you said it was the webmaster, the secretary, and the publicity officer, right?
Yes.
All got merged into one. So what is a publicity officer, and is it not the same as a first VP?
No, publicity officer. Well, publicity officer and tech coordinator are both appointed positions.
Okay.
So you have to be publicity officer, you have to win the publicity contest, and to be the tech coordinator, you have to win the website contest. That's how those happened. So we wanted to get rid of appointed positions. So that's also part of the reasoning of putting it to Coco. So we don't have any.
What if a senior wins those things? Like, what if somebody?
That was kind of the problem.
Yeah.
That was the same thing happened for historian. We made a historian appointed because the historian would be whoever won the scrapbook became historian.
Oh my goodness.
Because we came into the issue a few years ago where it was like the seniors would make it, but they couldn't be elected.
Yeah.
So then the person who ends up being on the board didn't actually do anything for it or didn't truly do it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
I've never heard of that way of choosing officers. Like whoever wins that competition. Man, you could apply that to all the offices. Like whoever wins Spirit becomes the second VP. Whoever wins the publications contest becomes the editor. You could just do a trial by fire for all of your offices. They could all be contests. But then y'all decided to do away with that, which sounds like a good idea because, you'd run immediately into the senior problem. So as publicity officer, let's say I've won the publicity contest. I get appointed publicity officer. What do I do?
Your main job is to make Classics Week approved by the governor.
Okay.
That's your main job, and you also run the publicity contest.
Gotcha. And do you all have a first VP also?
We also have a first VP.
What do they do?
Their job is to increase participation.
Okay. So it's kind of external relations and internal membership. It's like splitting up first VP into membership and external relations.
Yeah, when we got rid of publicity basically got split up into first VP and Coco.
Gotcha. Oh, Riona's asking, does North Carolina have a third VP? Nobody has a third VP. Gosh. People asked who would win president in this trial by combat system. I think it's just whoever wins overall sweepstakes becomes the president.
Yeah.
Something like that. Okay, so you serve as North Carolina communications coordinator for a while, and then you get elected as NJCL communications coordinator, and now I know what you do. So now you take minutes at our meetings, and you coordinate things getting put on the website, and you help me with some social media things that need to go out, like you made the website contest promos. You oversee the website contest. So you've got some experience with this website contest stuff. I know a lot of states have websites. Do a lot of local chapters have websites? And if not, how do you plan to go about encouraging folks to start one?
To my knowledge, in North Carolina, there's not a lot with websites. There's a few, but usually, like, same thing with our publicity contest. We'd only get a few entries for each contest. And again, that's why we kind of went away with them. It's because the same few schools would always get the officer because no one else would enter. How to reach out? I think, honestly, just like showing that making a website isn't as scary as it seems to be. So I know that's a driving factor of people to not want to do it. It may seem like a ton of work to like put together a website and keep it updated, but I think the main way to increase participation in that is to show people like how to build a website and how to make it not daunting.
Yeah, I mean, people are not writing their own HTML and CSS and
I don't know how to
PHP
code
and all that kind of stuff. So these days there's Wix, there's Weebly, there are a lot of website builders. So what happens if I'm a local chapter and I had a website last year and it was really good, and somebody new gets elected webmaster and they don't really want to change the website? Like, they don't want to build a new website from scratch. They want to use last year's template, let's say, because it's really nice. They can still enter the website contest, right? And what they're judged on is things like, have you kept the website updated? Are you doing things to encourage members to go to it and visit it and that kind of thing?
Yeah, that's how it works. Is you can submit the same website over and over, but you have to make sure that like things change, it's updated, and it's not straight up the same thing. Yeah, you have to make some form of edits.
Yeah, we run into the same situation in the publications contest, because a lot of state publications and local publications use the same template from year to year, and that's fine. It's good for consistency purposes. And people wonder, do I have to redesign the torch every year? in order to be valid for the contest? And the answer is no. I mean, what we're interested in is the currency of information and the quality of the content that you're putting on it. I'll say, I know we're talking about the publications contest now, but for the publications contest, it used to be, we changed the rubric a little bit. It used to be more visually like layout oriented, and we changed it a little bit to give more points for the words on the page, because we'd run into a situation where a given club could have a very beautiful template and use it over and over again. We want to give points for what's being written in that beautiful template. Let's see. Nothing particularly new for me in the chat, but the chat's going, and that's great. Okay, so now you're on the national board, and you're the communications coordinator, and I know what you do. And what plans do you have for the year?
My main plan is to just increase participation in the website contest. As I said, the best way to increase participation is to share how it's not as daunting as it seems to create a website if you break it down. I think that's my main goal.
We'll break it down for us. What let's say I've never had a website before and I'm a new JCL chapter. What do I want to have on a good website? Like, what makes a good website?
Your best bet is to have as many photos as you can. Obviously, get permission from everyone in the photos. Mm-hmm. You want to have as many photos as you can, because with photos you can show how much fun everyone's having because you can use words, but photos are the best way to convey any form of expression. But use that, and then also get all of the concepts that you want to have down. Like, either write it down or have it in the back of your head. Just have, okay, I want to have a page for our state convention. I want to have a page for our fall forum. I want to have a page for this. Have a page for officers. Just have that in your mind, and then once you just have the idea of what you need to do, create some form of template for yourself, and then put some words down, and you have a really good starting position. And then you can go through and make edits for consistency and accents or whatever. But from there, you have a really good starting point.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And there's either a guide online, or you're putting together one for how to make a website. Is that right?
I have not, but if that's something that might be really helpful, I can totally work on that if people feel like that would be helpful.
Maybe so, like an example site or something like that. I mean, you shouldn't use njcl.org as an example site, I would say. We've got a lot on there that's like buying JCL merchandise and things like that. There's a lot of stuff that applies to the national organization that I would say particularly does not apply to a local JCL chapter. So we may be able to put together a website template that's like, hey, here's a really good example. Or we can just point people to whoever won the website contest last year and say, hey, look at that website. That was really good. And that saves you from having to put together a demo website. And just say, hey, look, these are the people winning the contest. This is a successful website. So we're going to talk about you next. But I want to talk a little bit more about your office before we do that, because I think a lot of people in the chat might not know the history of the communications coordinator position, and we are going to go through that history real quick. So Nolan, did you know that you are the 10th communications coordinator in the history of NJCL?
I don't know. I didn't know where exactly I was. I know it was newer because at the drive I was but it goes 2010, I think, because I guess it's when it starts. Yeah. Yes,
in fact, exactly 2010. This is basically what happened here, which is to say that in 2010 at the National Convention in Fargo, North Dakota, is that right? Yeah, National Convention in Fargo. People voted to merge the offices of Secretary and Webmaster. For those of you who are unfamiliar with this graphic, this is Vegeta and Goku doing the fusion dance in Dragon Ball Z Super Broly, as Piccolo, who is the delegates at Nationals 2010, watch. So it was voted on, and so in 2011 at Nationals, which was in Eastern Kentucky University in Lexington, Kentucky, people voted and elected Sophia Qureshi from Wisconsin as the very first NJCL communications coordinator. So that was in 2011. So now we're in 2020, 2021, and that makes you number 10.
Ooh, what a big milestone.
Yeah, so it's the most recent office. It's an interesting merged office. It's got a neat little bit of history. Let's see. Martina Bright, who was one of the officers back then, Says Abigail O'Neill was the last secretary, Daniel Kim was the last webmaster. That is all true. This is all true in JCL history from the not so distant past, but probably distant enough to be ancient history for some of the folks viewing today. And I just wanted to show the Dragon Ball Z joke. Let's see. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to go into and talk about a little bit is you. I wanted to give the folks in the chat a chance to get to know you better. So let's see. In Nolan's letter to the National Committee, which none of the officers knew that I was going to be using these letters as material for this show because the show hadn't been pitched to them yet. So they, these are all unvetted ideas that I'm drawing from here. Nolan says he's been a state officer 3 times, which we've talked about. Oh yeah, you also said that you helped kickstart your local chapter's JCL. We didn't talk about that. Let's talk about that. What does that mean?
So we had a JCL before, but we didn't have any form of leadership. So me and a few people, we created our first board. So I've been local officer for the first time since we had it. So I think this is our third or fourth year having a board.
So you didn't have any officers? It was just a dictatorship run by your teacher?
Yeah.
Neat. Okay, so now you've got some student delegation. That's cool. What offices did y'all put in place?
So we basically changed up all the offices basically every year.
Okay.
But our first year we had 2 co-consuls, an edile, I think we had a quaestor, and praetor. I think we had 5 people.
So what did each one of those do?
Okay, so the co-consuls were co-presidents.
Yeah.
The edile works with, we basically split our JCL up, when we have meetings. We basically have the Kurtaman kids in one area and the kids who do the art contests in another area.
Mm-hmm.
The edile's job is to help with the art kids and make sure that they get all their stuff turned in on time. Praetor was basically our VP, so that was basically they were in charge of spirit. And then quaestor was I don't remember what quaestor was. We kind of changed it up every year.
Okay. And did you have any tribunes who could veto whatever they wanted and cause all sorts of constitutional crises that would later get resolved by conflict?
Because we did have a tribune in our first year. We did a tribune. That's what we did for the Kurtaman people. That's what we had our tribune.
What does that mean? They were in charge of Kurtaman people and you called them tribune?
Oh yeah, so they worked with all the Kurtaman kids to help make teams and make sure Kurtaman was running smoothly.
Okay, cool. And you said it's changed a couple of times since then. How big is your chapter? How many folks are we talking?
We used to have about 30, 40 kids.
Wow, okay.
So it's a decent size. We had a slight drop off in the past few years. But because our school is just shrinking a little bit, but we've had a generally steady membership. And then the next year we change it to just one president. It would basically just completely change it and then make it more of the state board. So we have a president, a vice president, a COCO,
Mm-hmm.
a parliamentarian, and then we keep the edile. So then obviously I'm COCO, and then we have that, and then the next year, which I think is this year, we change edile back to tribune of the plebs, and that helps with art kids still. So
the plebs are now we're calling plebs the art kids instead of the Kurtaman kids.
That was the whole point.
I guess that's an upgrade for the Kurtaman kids that they're not the plebs anymore. That's funny.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. I also helps kickstart our local chapters JCL. I'm just reading off of Nolan's intro letter. I can play not 1, not 2, but 3 instruments. The ukulele, which is what we're listening to now, because you saw in the thumbnail, a saxophone. We're going to get to that in a minute, but I looked up ambient saxophone music, and it was all really nice, smooth jazz, and I figured that would put people to sleep. So we're listening to some ambient ukulele music today. As always, thanks for the suggestion to play music during the stream. I think people like it a lot. So you can play the ukulele, you can play the guitar, and tenor sax. and recorder, if that counts, was a parenthetical. The recorder, no, does not count. But since you can play the tenor sax, you can play all the other ones too, right?
Yeah, I have a soprano saxophone that I got shortly after
A
studying
soprano sax, okay.
Mm-hmm. And then when I started
thinking
playing
like
saxophone,
a bari sax and an alto, but you've got a soprano sax, which is really little, right?
yeah, it's about the size of a clarinet.
Yeah. Cool.
So when I started out playing saxophone in 6th grade, I was actually on an alto sax. And then the next year I decided to switch to tenor, and that's where I've been for the past 4 years.
So how do you
This
choose?
is my 5th year playing sax.
Yeah, he's been playing sax for 5 years. How did you choose tenor? If you started from alto, I mean, when you start, you see these kids who are like 6 years old and they can't hold these instruments. So how does one choose? Once you're grown enough that you can hold and handle and manage all the instruments, how do you choose between the different saxophones?
I just kind of didn't like the alto sax. Like, I liked the saxophone, I just didn't like the alto sax. I wanted something larger.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, ooh, the tenor sax is a little bit bigger, and I'm the only tenor sax. Let's do that. I just wanted it to be different, really.
Oh, okay. And the reed is bigger, it's wider, right? And it's a little bit thicker than the alto, so presumably that means it cracks less often, I hope?
What do you mean by cracks?
Like breaks. Like eventually you play it until it breaks, right?
I guess I have, like, folded my neck in half by accident before. It's like the tenor sax is like a little curve in the neck.
Yeah.
I was putting my mouthpiece on it, and someone just bent it all the way down.
Ooh. But the
It
reeds,
still functions.
like the reeds wear out is what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah, the reeds, yeah.
Yeah, the reed itself.
I thought you meant like the saxophone itself. I was like, I have not had it fall apart.
No. The reeds will eventually break because they, get brittle and fall off.
Yeah.
And then if you play the bagpipes, then you have twice as many reeds because it's a double reeded instrument. Same with the oboe. That's fun. And if you want to be a woodwind, but you don't want to deal with all of that reed nonsense, then you play the flute, and then you don't have to deal with that. So you've been playing tenor sax for 5 years. Is that in school? Is that for fun? Do you do marching band, concert band? Tell us all about it.
We do concert band, and then obviously before pre-pandemic, we had pep band that I'd play in, but we don't really have games we can play at. But I play a pep band. We don't have a marching band though.
Okay, so pep band is for basketball games or for?
It's basically just for basketball.
Mm-hmm.
And then occasionally we play at a pep rally.
Gotcha. Cool. Okay, so now that COVID is happening, you practice on your own? I mean, you don't practice in school?
We still have class.
Okay.
But basically, so that we don't spread germs everywhere, spit on everyone, we take giant cloths, because my instrument's really big. I basically just wear a poncho over my saxophone when I play.
Really? You're kidding.
So I have a giant curtain tied to with a little piece of string tied on the neck, and I basically just wear a poncho when I play.
Wow, you could use an SCL shower curtain. By the way, folks, if you're interested in buying an SCL shower curtain, they're on sale for $55. You can find that on nscl.org. Somebody find a link to that and put it in the chat, please. That's wild. I have not heard, everybody I've been talking to who does music, they say, oh, I've got a friend who's a choir director, and he's like, oh no, we can't have choir practice because that involves singing and that emits particles. But you're over here just putting a shower curtain over your saxophone. Doesn't that disrupt the sound? Does it make it hard to play?
Not really, because it's not super thin, and it is relatively thin, so it's not hard to play on.
Okay, and that answers Irene Calderon's question in the chat. Do you wear masks over your instrument? Sounds like masks and then some. So everybody's doing that? Everybody has some kind of sleeve or something that they're putting over the instruments? Except presumably for percussion, right?
Percussion doesn't need anything. They're not spreading germs.
Yeah. Okay. So you're still practicing. That's great. You're still keeping up with it. Tenor sax. Oh, and ukulele and guitar. So those, I'm assuming you don't play as much at school. That's more of a hobby that you do on your own?
Yeah, that's a personal thing. I just play on my own for fun.
You taught yourself or what?
I'm self-taught in ukulele, and I used to take classes on pre-pandemic for guitar.
Wow. That's cool.
But I have a tenor ukulele too. I guess I just really like to play tenor instruments.
Yeah.
But I have a tenor Epiphone ukulele.
What does that mean?
And you can amp it up. Like it's basically an electrical ukulele. Like you can like plug it into an amp. So I really like it. It's a much larger than a normal ukulele.
Huh. Is that what that second word means? You said you have a tenor something ukulele. What was the second word?
Electrical? Or no, I said Epiphone. It's just a brand.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if that meant electric. I hadn't heard of the brand. So tenor ukulele, it's bigger. It's got a
little bit. It's
body.
a different. But yeah.
Okay.
Larger
Cool.
body.
Cool. Let's see. And then, so very musically talented. You'll have to come on That's Entertainment and do a one-man band because it sounds like you can. Do you have any siblings that you jam out with at home, or you just, this ukulele and guitar is entirely a one Nolan show that you do for fun?
I have a sibling, but they don't do any music things. I just do it on my own.
Okay. Eric Ting says TE has too many music acts. Well, music acts are
not enough.
Music acts are the easiest ones to do. It's hard to do other kinds of acts. But hey, we've had stand-up. This year we had a magic show. Of course, it was all good fun. And of course, you can go watch That's Entertainment on YouTube. It's available now. That's Entertainment being our talent show at the National Convention. Anyway, back to Nolan. Okay, I can play 3 instruments. We did that. And recorder. All right. I've been playing saxophone for 5 years. I also play ice hockey. Okay, so tell us more about that because that was in the thumbnail. You're in North Carolina, which people generally don't think of as being Canada. So you're playing ice hockey. How does that work? How'd you get into it? How often do you play? This is probably a hobby that a lot of people in the chat don't have. So tell us about it.
Yeah, I think in like 3rd or 4th grade, my sister's like, I want to play hockey. Mm-hmm. So she started taking lessons. Like, sure, I'll take lessons. I don't feel like going to her games, so I'll just play my own games. It was my rationale, which didn't make any sense. But anyways, I take lessons like 3rd or 4th grade. Then I just play for fun. I don't like play travel or anything. I just play house league. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I started like playing like actual games in like 2015, and I just stuck with it. I had a lot of fun. It's just like another like small community like JCL is. You just have the people you end up with for X amount of years.
We do have some hockey fans in the chat. Emily Lewis has been playing competitive ice hockey for a while. Dennis Webb, hey Mr. Webb, says, I am a Boston Bruins fan. Who's your favorite pro team?
Oh, he's Carolina Hurricanes.
Carolina Hurricanes, okay. Now there is, I believe, I know nothing about hockey. So for the benefit of the people in the chat who also don't know anything about hockey, I'm going to ask you some like Hockey 101 questions in a second. But before we do that, I want to look up the Orlando Solar Bears is...
Appreciate the pun.
Yeah. Let's see. The Orlando Solar Bears are a professional ice hockey team that plays their home games at the Amway Center in Orlando, Florida. They're like literally, if you had asked me who's your favorite hockey team, that's the only hockey team I know is the Orlando Solar Bears, and it's great because they're polar bears.
It must be like some AHL team or something. That's not an NHL team.
They are the ECHL.
Yeah, I was like, they're not NHL. I've never heard of them.
Mid-level professional, yeah. So they're fun. They've got a cute logo. You can check that out. We've got a lot of people on the committee from or around Orlando, so they've brought some Solar Bear merch to various NJCL meetings, and I saw it. What's a solar bear? That's amazing. Let's see. Shreveport, Louisiana has a team, the Mudbugs. I'm not surprised by that. That's wonderful. Okay, so tell us about hockey. What I know about hockey, I will tell you in a couple of sentences. I know that sometimes the teams don't have the same number of people on the ice because people get put in the penalty box. I know that people fight a lot. And I know that there's a goalie who wears oven mitts and armor. Other than that, are there different... I know that the goalie is special, but are the other... I don't even know how many players are on the ice for each team, for one thing.
So each team has 6 people on the ice. You have 3 forwards, 2 D, and 1 goalie.
Okay, great.
For each team.
That was going to be my next question, is what are the different positions? So you got 3 forwards. What do you play?
I play defense.
Okay. So there are 2 of you, and your job is to, I'm assuming, midfield and back, protect the goalie, try to keep the puck from getting to the goalie, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like in soccer, of course, not a perfect analog, but sort of analogous to...
I barely know soccer.
Oh, great. Okay. Well, wonderful. Between the 2 of us, we have knowledge of almost one sport. Baton Rouge had a team for a few years, the Kingfishers. Okay. Everybody has a hockey team, apparently. Even these very sunny places that you wouldn't think should have a hockey team. So it turns out North Carolina is actually pretty far north to be having a hockey team if they've got them in Florida and Baton Rouge. Okay. So you play defense, and you hang back past center court or midfield or whatever it's called in hockey. I'm revealing all of my hockey ignorance here. It's embarrassing.
It's an ice rink, but yeah.
Rink, mid-rink. And what are you looking for? Like, what's the strategy in hockey? What do you do when you play? Like
score and don't let the other team score.
I know that, but like, what is your position? Like, how do you practice? What is a good defender? What does a good defender do?
You don't let people like get past you. So you want to make sure the puck's always in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
If it's behind you, that's a problem. And you want to keep it in your offensive zone as much as possible. Okay,
what's the offensive zone? Is that the other side of the rink?
That's the zone where the other team's goalie is.
Yeah, okay. So when all the action comes on your side of the rink, is it like a man-to-man thing where you've got one person that you're covering, or are you and the other defender establishing like a zone of control?
Generally, you work with your other D partner to like not let anyone pass a certain zone.
Okay.
Like it's not like in soccer where like offsides is determined by the defenseman. But you want to make sure people are in front of you.
Okay.
When you're in D.
Gotcha. Yeah, I have a passable knowledge of football, basketball, and soccer, and hockey is not on that list. So I'm trying to make analogies to other sports. Okay. Raleigh has a very large hockey program for both men and women. Is the other thing you said in your letter. So that's a cool, unique hobby. Do you play hockey year round? Or what's the season for it? Okay.
Generally, the season is like fall to spring.
Mm-hmm.
Or I guess fall to like end of winter. It's basically about early March, wherever you consider that in seasons. And then where I play, I play house. They offer like a spring season, so they offer like April to like June, just like a short season.
So I'm assuming the main season got nixed this year because of COVID, and everybody's looking forward to the spring season.
Kind of like we're playing right now, but we're just like only doing practices.
Okay. Do you practice?
They have it set up.
Do you practice getting into fights at the practice?
No, because again, I don't play travel. If you start a fight, you're basically out of the league.
Oh, that's very different.
Yeah.
I thought fighting was part of the game.
It is part of the game, but we don't like. Again, I play just locally, so I don't like do any travel. Like if I were to do travel and get in a fight, I'd be fine.
Oh, okay.
But it's just
Now, if you've got an ice rink that operates year round, is there anything preventing Raleigh from having a house or semi-pro curling league?
They have.
They do? Oh, awesome.
Leagues.
Now, curling, that's a sport that I know a little bit about. So have you ever done any of that?
I've never done curling, but our ice rinks that we play on in the city that I live in,
mm-hmm.
like the rinks like all also have curling markings. So they've got like 4 different curling, I don't know what you call them, lanes set up on the ice at all times, all painted.
Cool. Awesome. All right. Well, that makes me happy because while I know absolutely nothing about hockey, I guess I've learned a little bit today. I do know a decent bit about curling, so that's fun. Cool. I'll have to find out more about. Now you've got me curious about what hockey is available in my area, so I'll have to go check. Okay, we've got about 5 minutes left, so now is the opportunity for the chat to ask Nolan any questions. It's an open season Q&A, anything you want to know from him about any of his hobbies, his many hobbies, or his plans for the year in office, anything like that. And Nolan, while we wait for the chat to catch up, because they're not going to hear this and start responding for another couple of seconds, if you've got anything to say, now's a good time for it too.
I guess I could ask the chat a question if that helps too.
Oh, sure.
Because I'm always taking minutes. What's everyone's favorite font?
Okay, while they wait, I mean, they're not going to hear that for a couple of seconds, but good point. Dakota Morosi just put in a question. I would love to hear more about Nolan's plans for Office this year.
Well, I kind of explained that I really want to increase participation in the website contest. Because to me, like, I like the website contest. It's fun. I enjoy websites. So I just really want to make sure that everyone's aware about that, and also take good minutes. And minutes are fun. Even most people don't like that. I like minutes.
How many?
So making sure that.
Go ahead.
I just think everyone needs to have access to the minutes, and they're able to understand them.
Okay. People are saying, let's see. Times New Roman, Arial, Papyrus, Corsiva, Comic Sans. Irene, you don't use Comic Sans, do you? There's not going to be any Comic Sans in the Torch. Let's make that clear. Martina Bright, also Comic Sans. Okay. Everybody is a graphic designer. Graphic design is their passion with Comic Sans. Let's see. Any other questions either way? Go ahead. What's your
personal favorite font? My favorite font is Bitter.
Bitter. Oh, somebody said that. Ava McCormick said not bitter. What is Bitter? I'm unfamiliar.
It's a font like Google Docs has. I love it. I use it in like all of my documents. It's like my go-to font.
Okay. What is it? Let's see. I'm not set up in a position that I can look up this font and show it to the chat right now, but I would encourage you to look it up yourselves.
It's my favorite font. It just looks clean. That's why.
Gotcha. Okay. Specifically Rainbow Comic Sans, says Grumio. Okay. Bitter is good. Bitter is decent. Okay. Some people like Bitter. All right. I'll have to go check it out. We'll have to see. Let's see. Other questions you have for the chat, or questions that the chat has for you? Nothing's coming to mind for anybody. That's okay. I mean, it's been a very good hour. Let's see. So, oh yeah, the question I was going to ask you when you were talking about taking minutes. It used to be very popular to ask communications coordinator or secretary candidates how many words per minute they could type. That was a big campaign question back in the day, and I haven't been to to campaigns for a while. But is that something that's still asked? And if so, how many words per minute do you type, Nolan?
I'm about like between 60 and 70, but I am a very loud typer. So when especially in virtual meetings, I have to mute myself.
Yeah,
so that people don't hear me.
I think that this keyboard that I have in front of me is also very loud, and it gets picked up by the mic, even though the mic is on cardioid mode and shouldn't pick up any sound that's not in front of it. Oh well. Okay, so 70-ish words per minute. That's perfectly respectable. Dennis Webb says Times New Roman. I like Times New Roman too, Mr. Webb. I catch all kinds of flack for it, but let's see. Do you like it when delegates vote not to read the minutes?
I hate it so much. I just want to read the minutes. Like, I spend especially at Take Mentions, I spend so much time making sure all our minutes are good, and they're like, let's get rid of them. I don't want to hear them. I put so much effort into them. But
particularly at nationals, right? You have to go to GA. Everybody was at the GA where the minutes were taken, so that's always been a curious...
Yeah, you want the daily recap.
And the daily recap. You heard it here first, folks. You get to hear about the meeting that you were at yesterday. Somehow, miraculously, it always seems to fail at least once in a 5-day national convention, so I am sure that this summer you will get a chance to read your minutes.
Oh, I will get a chance to read mine.
It sounds like you feel very strongly about that.
I won't make any fail at once.
Well, looking forward to it. Okay. with that, that's our show, folks. It's been an hour. It's been fun hanging out with you, Nolan. Thanks so much. Everybody, we'll see you next week. We're taking a break from our officer interviews again to put a spotlight on a very successful local chapter. We'll be talking to their teacher and some of their officers. Check JCL Instagram and Facebook and other social media this week to find out which club is going to get spotlighted. It's going to be a lot of fun. You've probably heard their name. It's going to be a blast. Looking forward to it. Everybody make sure to tell your friends. Bring a friend next time. Let's try and double the viewership. Want to get as many people in the chat as possible. This is obviously a lot of fun being in the chat. You guys are having a good time. I'm having a good time. Nolan's having a good time. And if something is good for the host, the guest, and the audience, then it's perfect. So try and bring a friend. We'll see you next time. Thanks very much for tuning in. Nolan, thanks so much for being here. And we will see y'all in a week. Cheers.
Thank you. Stay safe.